What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. As our Minnesota Vikings just got some terrible news on who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Turns out it's going to be Joe Flacco. So we'll dive into that. I'll explain to you guys why I think this actually benefits the Colts offense, as Anthony Richardson was extremely bad to start this NFL season. And then also trade deadline. It's a week away. So I got 10 trade targets for our Minnesota Vikings, where I'm not saying the Vikings have to go make a move at this year's deadline, but I think if they want to reach their max potential, there are some key position groups that they definitely need to get better at, and maybe the trade market could help that situation. But before we dive into that, I was looking at the numbers here on the channel, and we are closing in on 40,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe we're closing in on that milestone. At the beginning of the year, we were at just under 30,000 subs, and the fact that it's already week 9, we're almost at 40K is awesome. All credit to you guys. If you guys want to join our Vikings Now family, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 40,000 subs. So the news was broken just about an hour ago, where Adam Schefter tweeted this out saying a QB change for the Colts. Indianapolis is benching former first-round pick Anthony Richardson and turning to veteran Joe Flacco, sources tell Schefter and Jeremy Fowler. Coaches met this morning and made the organizational decision to change quarterback. So no Anthony Richardson, and that makes a lot of sense, because if you guys haven't been paying close attention to the Colts this season, Richardson has been struggling. I mean, the completion percentage on screen right now is awful. Like, he just hasn't really been a solid, consistent, good quarterback. He has the big plays. He has the wild throws. I mean, he probably has the best throw of the year week 1 against the Texans. He was off his back foot, put it 65-plus yards in the air, and just dropped it in the breadbasket. His highlights look great, but the little stuff, just completing a 5-yard out, getting the ball out to his playmakers, he has struggled in that regard. And, quick note here, I was just thinking about the Vikings and how they've really, helped Sam Darnold turn his career around. Could you imagine Anthony Richardson on the Vikings in a couple years? Maybe, super reckless speculation here, but let's just say JJ doesn't work out, Darnold ends up going to another team, and the Vikings are, scouring the QB market. Anthony Richardson wouldn't be a bad option, but, that's a different conversation for a different day. But this man right here, Joe Flacco, he's going to be stepping in and being the starting quarterback for the Colts. He has started 2 games this season, has gotten more time in another game when Richardson went out. Flacco stepped in, and he's played very, very well. And if you guys remember last season, Joe Flacco, he sparked the Cleveland Browns playoff run. Deshaun Watson got hurt. They put Flacco in the lineup, and they were in the playoffs playing the Houston Texans in a big-time wildcard game. I'm not saying Flacco for sure will have that same impact on this Colts team, but this Colts team is good. And if you watch them over the first 8 games of the season, they should honestly be 6-2 if they started Flacco all 8 games. So this game is a big-time spot for the Minnesota Vikings, and there's one man I'm looking at. I'm looking at him right here, Brian Flores. You got Joe Flacco. He's not the most mobile quarterback. We all know that. But he can get the ball out quick. He can get it out on time. But I fully want the Vikings edge rushers and this pass rush to get going. You bring the pressure. You have an 80% blitz rate, whatever it is, whatever schematic change you need to make for Flacco in comparison to Richardson, you make it. And I got faith in Flores to do so. I think this is going to be a dominant game for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, I would have preferred Richardson to be the starting quarterback, as he is just not as good as Flacco is at this point in their respective careers. Even though Flacco is old, he's played in big-time spots. It's not like the Sunday Night Football lights are going to be too blinding for him. He's played in Super Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. He is a true veteran quarterback, and he can run that offense at a very, very high level. So I'm looking at this guy. Let the dogs loose. Get these edge rushers going. Maybe let's see some Dallas Turner this weekend. I would love to see it. But overall, I do think this is negative news for the Minnesota Vikings. And if this was Anthony Richardson starting, I would be very, very confident in a Vikings win. I could see this spread going down from, it started off at 7. It's already down to 6. I could see this even creeping up to like 4.5, 5 points in favor of the Vikings. But again, the Vikings, you got to be prepared. This is a good quarterback coming into your building with a bunch of good weapons around him. So the Vikings, they're going to be squaring off with Anthony Richardson against the Colts. But I ask you guys this. What is your confidence level in the Vikings this weekend now with Joe Flacco in at starting quarterback for the Colts? Scale it for me 1 through 10 down below in the comments section. So let's dive into some trade targets here. So trade deadline is a week away, and I don't expect the Vikings to make a move at this point. I would have liked them to if they were 6-1, 7-0. I'm saying go all in. Sell the house. Let's go try to make a Super Bowl this season. But after the Darrisaw injury, after, kind of getting steamrolled by the Lions and the Rams, maybe the Vikings are going to, not have all the draft capital on the table. But a guy you could go get is Cam Robinson. Now, I think the Vikings are going to experiment this week. I don't think they're going to make a move before Sunday's game. We also got a report from Ben Gessling that they will not do so, just to get a better picture of what they want to do at the deadline. But a guy like Cam Robinson could be interesting. Jags, they're probably going to be sellers. I don't know how extreme, but I could see them wanting to move off their left tackle, and he's had a really good start to his year and his career, matter of fact. So keep your eyes out on Cam Robinson. I think the Vikings could be calling Jacksonville, but if let's just say you roll out, whether it's Blake Brandel at left tackle, Reisner left guard, Bradbury, Ingram, O'Neal, and that line does good against a pretty damn good Colts front seven, I think they're just going to stay put. But, hey, Kwesi has made a move at every NFL trade deadline that he's been a GM, so I expect him to be active on the phones. But how about Adam Butler? He's a defensive tackle for the Las Vegas Raiders. This would just be a depth piece for the Vikings, like Harrison Phillips, like Jonathan Bullard. But late in that Rams game, we had Jalen Redmond getting key snaps, and this is no disrespect to him, but the Vikings just need more depth. They need more talent on that defensive line. Adam Butler is a great name. Now, a guy who I think would be a perfect scheme fit with Flores, Greg Newsome II. This guy is an extremely intelligent football player, and I think when you're playing in Flores' system, one, you need to be versatile. He is that, but you also got to have a high football IQ. He is that as well. So I think this is a name with the Browns potentially being sellers at the deadline. Just keep your eyes out on that. And speaking of the Browns, we also got Jedrick Wills Jr., offensive tackle for Cleveland. He's got top-end talent. Hasn't really played up to his draft status coming out, but he would be a great name to keep your eyes on. Again, this all comes down to how the offensive line looks against the Colts. If they look good, I don't think the Vikings make a move. But let's just say Brandel struggles at left tackle. Ingram really struggles at right guard. I could see them for sure making a move. But this is a guy in Calais Campbell I would be absolutely all in on. And I think he could go for a 6th, 7th round pick swap where you send the Dolphins a 6th round pick. They send you a 7th and Calais Campbell in return. He's played in big time moments. He is 38 years old. And honestly, we all talk about LeBron, being the number one athlete in terms of defeating Father Time. I think it's this guy. The fact that he's 38, playing defensive lineman in the National Football League and still playing at a very high level is absolutely special. So he's a guy, you can get to the quarterback, you can stop the run, could be a great depth piece, and also on third downs. This is a guy you could just line right up over the center or guard. You got Turner, Grenard, Van Ginkel, Jones, whatever edge rushers you want with Harrison Phillips. I think it would just add another dynamic to this Vikings front seven. But let's talk about a former Viking coming home. I've been asked about Thielen a lot, and I would be all in on bringing in Thielen, but I'll probably have to do the injury. Let's just say Addison or Naylor get banged up this weekend. Then I think maybe they call Carolina. They just traded Deontay Johnson to the Baltimore Ravens. So Thielen's definitely available, but I actually think Thielen, little bold prediction here, I think he's going to be traded to a true contender. I think maybe the Steelers could possibly trade for him. So keep your eyes out for Thielen getting dealt. I just don't know if it will be for the Vikings. Now, this is a guy in J.C. Horn I would be all in on giving a first-round pick for. I think the Vikings, no matter what, will be drafting in that 20 to 32 range. And, you could try to, risk your luck a little bit and go and get a top-end cornerback. But this guy is a true blue chipper. He will be one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League for the, probably the next 5 seasons. So I'll throw a first-round pick for him, especially with the corner struggling last week versus the Rams. The Vikings cornerbacks, they do a good job against, the mediocre receivers, but anytime they get lined up against an elite receiving group like the Lions, like the Rams, they have been absolutely gashed. Now, another home run trade, it would be Jeffrey Simmons. We are getting reports out of Tennessee that he is not on the trade block, so a little unfortunate there. But again, if you throw them an offer they can't refuse of 2 firsts and a third, they will probably say yes to that. It's just going to come down to, will Kwesi want to make that move? Obviously, all see what happens on Tuesday when that comes around. But what about Tre'Davious White? Now, the Rams did grant him permission to go seek a trade, and he's a very smart cornerback, very versatile as well, kind of similar to Greg Newsome. He's just a little older. I don't know if I would be thrilled about the Vikings trading for him. He's a guy, I think he very similar to Gilmore. He can play good against the mediocre corners, but when they go up against the elites of the elites in the National Football League, he has struggled. And same thing for this guy, Jonathan Jones. I like Jonathan Jones. He's a good cornerback, but is he really moving the needle for this Vikings team? Probably not. So those are the top trade targets I have for the Vikings. We'll also be having a video coming out tomorrow, again, talking about the trade rumors, because I also think there's some players on this Vikings team that could get dealt, like a Brian Asamoah or even a guy like a Caleb Evans. But I just gave you guys 10 names. You guys just got to give me one. Name a player you guys want the Vikings to trade for with the trade deadline just a week away. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. And also, guys, I am on Twitter. That's a handle right there, at Pat Sieps. If you guys give me a follow over there, I'll give you guys a follow right back. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.